So you spend all Saturday sweating in the sun, right?
Yeah.
Just dragging the heavy hose around to water this one stubborn brown patch in your yard.
Oh, yeah. We've all been there.
Right. And you go out and drop like $40 on a bag of premium fertilizer.
At least $40, yeah.
Exactly. You spread it all around, you do the work, and a week later, well, that patch is still completely dead.
Completely dead. Nothing changed.
Meanwhile, you look over, and your neighbor hasn't watered in weeks. And their lawn looks like, it looks like the fairway at Augusta National.
It is the most frustrating feeling in the world.
Yeah, it really is. But what if I told you that the reason your grass is dying has absolutely nothing to do with the amount of water or sunlight or even fertilizer it's getting on the surface?
Right, because the real issue is completely out of sight.
Yes. There is a silent microscopic war happening, like 6 inches underground.
It really is the ultimate blind spot for anyone with a yard. We evaluate our lawns based on these entirely cosmetic surface-level metrics. You stand in the driveway, you look out, and you run through this mental checklist, right?
Like, is it green? Is it thick? Does it need a moat?
Exactly. And if it passes that test, you just assume the landscape is thriving. But the reality of turf health, and really the whole premise of the research we are diving into today, it flips that entire perspective upside down.
It's wild.
It is, because 90% of turf health happens below ground. 90%.
Which means all those frustrating symptoms we see on top, the brown spots, the thinning turf,
Yeah.
a sudden outbreak of some disease.
Right.
Those are actually just the delayed final results of underground failures that have been happening for weeks or maybe even months, completely out of sight.
Right. By the time the grass actually turns brown on the surface, the crisis underground is already in its final stages. It's essentially over.
So our mission for you in this deep dive is to completely change how you view your yard. We are venturing into what turfgrass scientists call the hidden half.
The hidden half, I love that term.
Me too.
Yeah.
And by the end of this conversation, you are going to have the ultimate cheat code for building a resilient lawn, which is incredibly crucial if you happen to live in an area that deals with tough, compacted soil or brutal, baking hot summers.
Absolutely. But to understand why the surface fails, we really have to start by looking at the architecture of what lies beneath.
Right, the foundation.
Exactly. A really helpful way to visualize this shift in perspective is to think about a massive oak tree.
Okay, an oak tree.
Yeah. Everyone admires the sprawling canopy, the leaves, the thick branches. But any arborist will tell you that the health, the stability, and the lifespan of that tree are entirely dictated by the root system hidden beneath the soil.
Sure.
Well, turfgrass operates on the exact same biological principle. Every single blade of grass you see is supported by an intricate, highly active network of roots.
And I think that's where I had it wrong for so long. Because these aren't just like little passive strings dangling in the dirt, just hoping water bumps into them.
Not at all.
A healthy stand of tall fescue grass, for example, it forms this massive, sprawling, underground highway system.
A highway system is a great way to put it.
Yeah, and there are thousands of branching roots constantly working. They're actually tasked with 5 incredibly demanding jobs, all happening simultaneously.
Right, they are very busy down there.
Super busy. They have to absorb water, hunt for nutrients, store energy, anchor the plant against erosion and traffic, and, crucially, supply oxygen to the living root cells.
That active hunting aspect is so key, though. The root system is physically exploring the soil profile.
It's moving around.
Yes. And the larger and deeper that underground highway system becomes, well, the more resources the lawn can harvest. Deep, dense roots give the turf access to a much larger reservoir of moisture and a much wider buffet of nutrients.
I always think about this in terms of trying to survive, like a 100-degree day in the middle of July.
Oh, brutal.
Right. So a shallow-rooted lawn is basically trying to stay hydrated with a tiny little shot
A
glass.
shot glass, right.
The sun comes out, that top inch of soil bakes in the heat, the shot glass empties instantly, and the plant just panics.
It completely shuts down.
But a deep-rooted lawn, that is like having a massive double-walled hydro flask.
Yeah.
It can just keep pulling cool moisture from deep underground long after the surface is bone dry.
Which perfectly explains the scenario you mentioned earlier with the neighbor's pristine lawn.
Oh, right, the Augusta National guy.
Exactly. You got 2 yards, same neighborhood, same weather, the exact same rainfall. The difference is entirely in the depth and volume of their root architecture.
Okay, I get the highway analogy, and the hydro flask makes total sense. But if I'm playing devil's advocate here,
Go for it.
it actually seems like a massive waste of biological energy.
How so?
Well, think about it. Water comes from the sky, right? It
Yeah.
rains, or we run the sprinklers, and the water enters the top layer of the soil first. So why build a massive highway system going deep into the earth? Why not just keep all your roots right at the surface where the water arrives first?
That is a completely logical question.
Hmm.
But here's the thing. That top inch of soil is an incredibly volatile environment.
Volatile.
Extremely. It is the very first layer to freeze solid in the winter, and it's the first layer to completely dry out during a summer heat wave.
Oh, I see.
Yes. So if your root system only exists in that shallow surface layer, the plant has absolutely zero buffer when the environment turns hostile. It is stranded.
It's just totally vulnerable to whatever the weather is doing that day.
Exactly. But there is a second, far more important reason the roots have to constantly explore and build out that highway. And this gets to the single biggest misconception about turf health.
Okay, what is it?
Most people believe roots just need water and food. In reality, roots absolutely require a constant supply of oxygen to stay alive.
Wait, really? The dirt is supposed to be full of air?
Yes.
Because I think most of us just picture soil as solid ground. You know, it's dirt, it's dense.
Well, healthy soil is actually closer to a sponge than a solid brick.
A sponge, okay.
It is packed with millions of tiny microscopic spaces called pores. And for a root system to survive, those pore spaces need to be filled with a very specific balance of both water and air.
Just like humans need to breathe, basically.
Exactly like humans. Grass roots require oxygen to fuel their bodies. This biological process is known as root respiration.
Okay, the kitchen sponge analogy is perfect here. Because a good, functional kitchen sponge holds plenty of water, but it maintains its structure because it's full of tiny air pockets.
Right, it has loft to it.
Yeah, loft. So if the soil is our sponge and we're constantly stomping around on it, mowing it, dropping heavy things on it, are we essentially just wringing out all the oxygen? Like, is the grass literally holding its breath?
That is exactly what happens mechanically to the soil.
Wow.
When those tiny pore spaces become compacted or, if they get completely flooded with too much standing water, the oxygen is physically pushed out of the profile.
And without that oxygen,
The roots immediately begin to suffocate. If they can't perform root respiration, the entire system just grinds to a halt.
they just stop.
They stop growing. They cannot absorb the nutrients sitting right next to them. They can't repair damaged tissue, and they certainly can't produce new root tips to search for water. They are choking to death underground.
And this brings up a massive geographical challenge, actually. If you look at regions like Charlotte, North Carolina, you see this exact suffocation problem playing out in almost every single neighborhood because of the heavy Piedmont clay soil native to that area.
Oh, clay is notorious for this.
Right. It's just terrible for lawns.
It's incredibly difficult to manage because of its microscopic structure. If you think of sandy soil, the particles are large and coarse. It's almost like a jar filled with marbles.
Okay, marbles. Lots of space between them.
Exactly. There is plenty of natural space between the marbles for air and water to move freely. Clay particles, on the other hand, are microscopic, flat plates.
Flat plates?
Yeah, they are more like a stack of wet paper. They naturally pack together incredibly tightly, leaving almost no room for those vital air pores.
So we have this native clay soil that already wants to act like a dense brick, and then we build houses on it.
Right, the construction phase.
Yeah, construction equipment rolls over it, compressing it even further,
Hmm.
and then we move in and live our lives on it. We walk across it, the kids set up a slip and slide, the dogs run the exact same perimeter path every single day.
We've all seen the dog track in the yard.
Oh, definitely. Or we just get a week of really heavy rainfall pounding the surface. All of that downward pressure is physically crushing whatever tiny air pockets were actually left,
Yes.
which really feels like a cruel irony, if you think about it.
It's the paradox of a functional lawn.
Exactly. The very things we want to do on our grass, running around, hosting a barbecue, just enjoying this space we pay a mortgage for, are the exact activities that are actively compacting the soil and suffocating the root system.
And when you combine heavy clay with heavy foot traffic, you create an environment where the oxygen levels just plummet.
It's a disaster.
It really is. The soil becomes so dense that the roots simply don't have the physical strength or the biological energy to push through the clay to explore deeper. They become trapped in that volatile top inch of soil we talked about earlier.
Which leaves me completely confused about how grass survives at all in these conditions.
It's a tough environment for sure.
Like, if walking on the lawn is choking it out,
Hmm.
and the roots are struggling to breathe in this compressed clay prison, how on earth does the grass have the energy to recover? I mean, we go out there every Saturday, and literally slice the top off the plant with a spinning metal mower blade.
It is incredibly traumatic for the plant.
Right. How does it survive that trauma if it's already suffocating?
Well, that brings us to the genius of the plant's internal biology. The grass survives these traumas because it relies on a hidden reserve. But to understand how that works, we have to dispel another major gardening myth.
Lay it on me.
Most homeowners mistakenly believe that the leaves of a plant produce food.
Right. You throw some water on it, the sun shines on the leaves, and the plant just magically grows.
Yeah, but the reality is a two-part process. The grass blades are essentially solar panels.
Okay, solar panels.
They capture sunlight through photosynthesis, and they manufacture raw sugars. But the plant doesn't just immediately consume those sugars up in the blades.
Oh, it doesn't.
No. Instead, those sugars are transported all the way down into the root system, where they are converted and stored as carbohydrates.
And this is where the research completely clicked for me. Because those stored carbohydrates act exactly like a rechargeable battery for the lawn.
A perfect analogy.
Mm-hmm.
The plant is constantly banking energy for the future. And here is how this entire biological loop connects back to the oxygen we were discussing earlier.
Go.
Having a fully charged battery is completely useless if you don't have a way to turn the device on.
Right, you need a power switch.
Exactly. Root respiration, which is the physical act of the roots absorbing oxygen from those tiny soil pores, that is the biological engine that actually burns those stored carbohydrates and converts them into usable energy.
Oh, wow. Okay, let me make sure I had this straight.
Yeah, go ahead.
The grass can have all the sunlight in the world. It can manufacture endless amounts of sugar up top. But without oxygen down in the roots, it can't actually eat the food it made.
That is the exact bottleneck. Photosynthesis creates the fuel, but respiration is the engine that burns it. Without oxygen in the soil, the engine just shuts off.
So the plant has food, but it starves anyway.
Yeah.
That makes the battery analogy so powerful
Yeah.
because it really frames the consequences of what we do out in the yard.
It does.
Like when I go out and mow the lawn, I am actively draining the grass battery. It takes a massive amount of stored energy for the plant to heal those cut blades and push up new green growth.
A huge amount of energy.
Right. And if my soil is compacted clay and the root system is suffocating without oxygen, my lawn's battery is basically flashing at 1%.
It's in the red.
It's stuck in low power mode just trying to stay alive.
And when any biological system drops into low power mode, what does it do? It immediately starts shutting down non-essential functions to preserve whatever energy it has left.
Makes sense.
The turf stops allocating energy to growing deeper roots. It stops exploring for water. It stops producing the chemicals needed to fight off fungal diseases or insect damage. It just sits there, highly vulnerable, trying to hang on until conditions improve.
Okay, so if the battery is dying and the roots are suffocating, how do you know? Like, how can a homeowner look at their yard and read the distress signals before the grass just completely gives up and dies?
You have to know what to look for.
Because we established that by the time it's totally brown, the underground battle is already lost.
Right. The landscape always tells you what's happening beneath the surface. One of the most immediate warning signs of compaction is water runoff.
Runoff.
Yeah. If you run your sprinklers or, a summer storm rolls through and you notice the water is immediately sheeting off the lawn and running right down the driveway or into the street, your soil pores are crushed shut.
Because the sponge is squeezed tight.
Exactly.
You can't accept any more water, which is incredibly frustrating when you're paying a high water bill and the water isn't even reaching the roots.
You're just watering the storm drain at that point.
Literally.
Another classic symptom is early wilting.
What does that look like?
Well, if it's a hot afternoon, say 2 or 3 o'clock, and your neighbor's lawn is holding its color, but yours is already turning a sort of grayish blue and wilting.
Oh, I hate that grayish color.
Right. It means your roots are shallow and trapped in that top inch of dry soil. Other indicators include thin or patchy turf that just won't thicken up no matter what you do, or an explosion of weeds.
Wait, weeds? Why weeds?
Because weeds actually thrive in compacted, low-oxygen soil. They love it.
Oh, of course they do.
And standing water is another one. If water just pools in the yard for days after it rains, you've got compaction.
And then there's the most maddening symptom of all. Brown areas, despite regular watering.
Oh, yes.
You are out there every single evening with the hose, just soaking the spot, and it's still dying.
Yeah.
And I think this points to a massive mistake so many of us make.
The fertilizer response.
Yes. When we see a brown patch, or the turf looks a little thin, our very first instinct is to run to the hardware store, buy a massive bag of synthetic fertilizer and just dump it on the problem.
It's what we're conditioned to do.
But based on the biological mechanics we just walked through, doing that is essentially like pouring premium gasoline into a car that doesn't have an engine.
It is entirely counterproductive. If the roots are suffocating from a lack of oxygen, their biological engines are shut down.
You can't use it.
They physically cannot absorb the nutrients you are applying. The fertilizer just sits there in the soil, or worse, it washes away in the next rainstorm.
That's terrible.
You are wasting your time, your money, and potentially harming the local watershed. Those symptoms, the early wilting, the brown spots, the thin patches, they are screaming at you that the root system is compromised. They are not asking for more food.
They are asking for air.
They are asking for air, exactly.
So, okay, if our lawn is suffocating in a compacted clay prison,
Clay prison, yeah.
and fertilizer won't fix it, and watering it more won't fix it, how do we physically get the oxygen back underground without just tearing up the entire yard and starting over?
The ultimate mechanical solution for this, and really a non-negotiable necessity for heavy clay soils, is a process called core aeration.
Core aeration?
Yes, this is how you hit the reset button on the entire subterranean environment.
Let's really look at the mechanics of core aeration, because a lot of landscaping companies pitch this, right?
Yeah.
And it's really easy to dismiss it as just an upsell or some cosmetic extra.
It's definitely not cosmetic.
What is actually happening to the soil architecture when you aerate?
So core aeration uses a specialized machine equipped with hollow metal tines.
Hollow, okay. Not just spikes.
Right, they aren't solid spikes. As it rolls over the yard, it punches down and physically pulls thousands of small cylindrical plugs or cores of soil directly out of the ground and leaves them on the surface.
Just leaves them there on the grass.
Yep, just leaves them on top. By physically removing these pieces of earth, you instantly relieve the horizontal pressure in the soil.
Ah, I get it. You are unsqueezing the sponge.
Exactly.
You are literally creating empty space where there was none.
Yes. You are instantly reopening those microscopic pores. The process creates thousands of literal shafts that allow atmospheric oxygen to plunge straight down into the root zone.
And how fast does the grass react?
The biological response is immediate. The introduction of oxygen restarts the root respiration engine. The roots can finally burn their stored carbohydrates to push out new growth.
It also completely solves the runoff issue, right?
Completely.
Because now, when it rains, the water flows directly into those open holes instead of running down the driveway, meaning the moisture penetrates deep into the soil profile, which has to encourage the roots to chase it downward.
It fundamentally changes the hydrology of the yard. But it also triggers another incredible biological reaction.
Oh, really? What's that?
Well, when soil is heavily compacted, it becomes anaerobic, meaning lacking oxygen. And the beneficial microbes that naturally live in the soil and break down organic matter, they go dormant in anaerobic conditions.
They just go to sleep.
Basically, yeah. But when you aerate and introduce a massive flush of oxygen, those dormant microbe populations wake up.
Wow.
They start multiplying, consuming organic matter, and releasing natural nutrients back into the soil in a form the roots can actually absorb.
So you are basically jump-starting an entire ecosystem just by poking some holes.
Pretty much.
And if your yard is looking thin, having thousands of little protective holes in the ground seems like the absolute perfect scenario for putting down new grass seed in the fall.
Oh, it's perfect.
The seeds fall right into the holes protected from birds and the sun, right next to the newly available water and oxygen.
It is the ideal seedbed, and the benefits of pulling those cores last long after the little dirt plugs have melted back into the surface.
It's not just a temporary fix.
No, it is a long-term structural investment. You are physically building out the capacity of that underground highway, ensuring the roots can breathe, and protecting that all-important carbohydrate battery.
Man, if we synthesize everything we've talked about today, it really comes down to a fundamental shift in responsibility.
Absolutely.
Healthy lawns do not happen by chance. They happen by choice. You have to build the environment from the ground up. You have to focus on fostering that strong root architecture, ensuring the soil has the porosity to breathe, protecting the plant's energy reserves, and just relentlessly fighting compaction.
You have to focus on what you can't see.
Yes. When you actively prioritize and care for the hidden half, the visible half, the lush, resilient green grass you actually want to see from the driveway, it basically takes care of itself.
It is a complete inversion of how we are typically taught to approach landscaping. You cure the invisible to heal the visible.
I love that. You cure the invisible to heal the visible. And that concept actually leads me to a final lingering thought for you to take away from this deep dive.
Let's hear it.
We've spent this entire time unpacking how the roots of this very simple, everyday grass are constantly reading their environment. They're breathing, foraging for nutrients, and storing energy in this incredibly complex, silent network beneath our boots.
It's a whole world down there.
It really is. And it makes you wonder, if the generic grass we blindly trample over every single day is running a subterranean ecosystem this sophisticated just to survive the summer heat, what other invisible ecosystems are we walking over completely unaware?
That's a great question.
Right. We go about our busy days entirely oblivious to the silent, tireless biological machinery grinding away beneath the pavement, beneath the forest, and beneath our own backyards, doing all the heavy lifting to keep the surface world alive.
Doing the real work.
Exactly. So the next time you step outside, maybe put down the hose for a second, look at a patch of green, and remember the rechargeable battery, the underground highway, and the invisible air keeping it all alive. Because the most vital structural things in life are very often the ones we can never see.
Thank you for listening to the Pain in the Grass podcast, sponsored by Lawn Pride of North Charlotte, Huntersville, your go-to name in turf care for homeowners and businesses seeking beauty, quality, and reliability, powered by family and fueled by passion. Until next time, make sure to take care of that pain in the grass.